Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're on the upper Kern River where a lot has changed in the last year due to record-breaking snowfall and record-breaking snow melt. So I'm up here. I'm going to be walking through a few of the campgrounds, showing you around some places that I think are geared more towards family outings, and maybe you can venture off and have some of those little solo expeditions that you're looking for. A lot of these places are just good fishing spots in general. They're good starting points. It's where the trout truck goes whenever it's stocking. So if you're wanting to, find some areas that maybe aren't as crowded, well, you're just gonna have to put in the work. But this will get you started, so let's go ahead and begin. So this is the Kern River Park up here in Kernville, and this is actually one of my favorite places to stop when I'm heading up here with my family. There's lots of places for the kids. There's a play area, there's bathrooms, and no matter how safe you are, the river is never 100% safe, but this is one of the safer areas. The fishing is good if there's a trout truck, which is fun for the kids. If I'm just by myself, I don't usually stop here because I'm heading up other places. But there is a nice little campground over on the other side of the river. There's a lot of amenities here in town, and Kernville is just a great town to spend time in. So you can really do a lot here. You can have a good time with the family. You can go into town, go to the brewery. The Kern River Fly Shop is right here in town. You've got the Sierra Gateway Market, has a lot of fishing supplies too. So check out a lot of these areas here, and we're just going to continue moving up the river. So this is Headquarters Campground. Headquarters Campground got its name way back in the day. It was actually the headquarters for the ranger station. So they had everything set up here, and whenever they left and moved everything into Kernville, they made it into a campground. So it's a nice place. You can see there's a lot of places to camp. It does have a feature that's either beneficial or a hassle, and the river actually branches off and goes down this little creek bed right here. So in the springtime or the summertime, you don't really have to worry about the kids getting washed out down to, Lake Isabella. They can sit here, you can relax, they can relax. If you want to cross the creek, do a little fishing in the mornings or the evenings before it gets too hot in the summertime, it's a pretty good location. You can see back behind here that there's this large outcropping of boulders and rocks that the river kind of moves around, but once you get to the backside, it makes for some nice deep channels and runs. And there's a lot of fish that hold in here. There's not a lot of stocking that goes into this area. Most of that happens up around Camp 3, which we're going to see next. But those fish do wash downstream, and there's a lot of stocking that happens below here, down in River Kern, or in Kernville itself, and those fish actually do make their way upstream, towards the middle of the summer, whenever they're looking for cooler or colder water and deeper runs. Headquarters is one of my go-to places in the wintertime. It's really close to town. It's nice. You can usually find a spot here to camp. There's not a lot of crowds once it cools off, and yeah, the fishing's not bad, and it's also a good starting point to some really good fishing locations. So just past Headquarters is actually Halfway Campground, and this is a group camp area. You can reserve all of those areas online as well. When you get just past that, there are some really good fishing areas right here along the river. And you can see there are several raft put-ins or pull-outs here along the river, and those are all really good places to find fish because that's typically where a trout truck comes right up, parks, they load a bucket of fish, and then they walk it down to the river and dump it in. These areas like this is Camp 3. Now Camp 3 has gone through a lot of renovations recently, actually in the past few years. A lot of repair. It's been closed quite a bit, and it is closed still. And usually when I'm up here and I'm looking for a place to fish, I find the closed campgrounds, and that's where I go into. There's a lot of good runs there. There's a lot of areas that I really like to fish, and they haven't had a lot of people in the past, so there's typically some fish there. So this is Thunderbird day use area. You can see it's right next to a group area. It can be reserved by calling this phone number here. But this is a day use area, so sunrise to sunset, you can come out here. There's I believe there's an old home site that used to be here. You can see the foundation. There's an old fireplace that's still hanging in there. You can see right here, right? I'm just walking. Here's an old concrete pad. This is a decent fishing site. It gets quite a bit of pressure because there is parking. There's a porta potty. Anytime there's a porta potty, you know there's a lot of people. And again here, in the springtime, this is all filled with water. Depending on how the water is flowing, it's a good place to play in. Otherwise, it can get kind of gross. And as we walk over here to the river, you can see there's a lot of nice little pocket water areas to fish. I'm not going to say the fishing is good. I can't tell you the last time it was that I actually caught a fish in this area. But it's pretty. And because of that reason, we're going to keep moving on. Now, you have to remember that most of the great fishing along the upper Kern River happens by parking and climbing down there. So that is where I recommend you eventually find yourself when you're looking for great fishing. And as its name suggests, it's a pretty flat Chico, right? Like, there's not a lot going on here. It's far away from the water. But when you do make the hike out here, and I mean, make the hike, because it's a pretty good walk. But there are some nice deep pools for swimming in. And these runs over here have actually produced a lot of fish for me. You can see, you can walk up there, you can hike for what feels like miles, and every little rock on the other side of every little piece feels like a whole new river that you're fishing. So all the way down in here, and then everybody can swim and have a good time right over in here. So Chico Flat is a good area, like I said. It can get a little busy when it's hot, but not from campers, a lot of swimmers. Remember, you have to hike all the way back up there to get to where you parked. So I don't know. I don't want to say there's not a lot of people carrying stuff down, because I've seen ice chests go into a lot of places, but it's not as busy as some of the other places are that are just right along the water. Now, I just want to take a moment and remind you that I do appreciate all your views. I appreciate your likes. So go ahead and if this is helping you out, hit that like button. And also, if you do want to support this channel, monetarily, you can hit that super thanks down below. Or if you don't want to do that, you can do all your shopping through all the affiliate links. And it doesn't cost you anything extra, but I get a little bit of portion of that gets sent back to me. So as always, I appreciate it, and we're going to keep on moving up the river. Now, one of the most popular areas here is Hospital Flat, and this one is typically only closed during the winter time. They do open it up. I've seen it opened up year round, but that's been a really long time. You can see in a lot of these campgrounds, they've repainted everything. They had a lot of runoff that came into the campground itself, so they had quite a bit of work to do. So the campground here is just one big loop and kind of goes around. You work your way back over here, and then it comes back this way. You see how far back that goes. And again, this can all be booked on recreation.gov. It gets busy in the springtime, spring break. If it's open, it gets busy. But shoot, this area gets busy. 4th of July, it's 110 degrees up here, and everybody's up here camping. I'm usually way up higher. I don't like to camp when it's 100 degrees in my tent when I go to bed. But it is nice to get down there and sit in the water and cool off. Now, you can usually find your way to the river through the campground by going into the back and finding the holes in these bushes. Or you can just walk the road all the way down and around here. You can see it over here, where it comes on the backside with some additional campgrounds. It's a nice area, picnic tables, campfire rings. Spots right next to the river. And there's toilets, pit toilets, but that's always nice whenever you're camping with your family, right? The more times you can get them to come out here with you, usually the more times you get to go and do this stuff. And a lot of these campgrounds, they do have water. It's turned off in the wintertime, but I wouldn't drink it, but I'd cook with it. It's got a little bit of a rusty metally taste to it, but those are minerals. And just across the way, there's some pretty nice little swimming holes. If you're gonna do any major fishing for trout, it's gonna be all up in that area or all downstream in that area. So this is a nice big deep pool. I've seen people catch fish here, but it gets a lot of pressure. But you can see you can see up against that rock, maybe you can't see, there's a bobber that's hung up, that's floating right over there. A lot of times you get people down in here that are fishing with like 20-pound tests, and it's just a tangled mess if you try to throw any type of lure down there. But I still do it every once in a while. So this is the Corral Creek area, and it's a little unique in that it's right next door to the lodge over here that have created their own camping area with tent sites and tent cabins. So you can check them out. It says SoCal Camping. I don't have much information on it because, like I said, it just popped up in the last year or so, but it's a decent area. Nice big open beach area. I haven't fished this in quite a while. I usually fish down there. A lot of people here, so I go down here where it's a lot harder to access off the road, but the fishing's really good. And just on the other side of this campground is going to be the Springhill area, which is one of my favorites. Again, gets really busy, really hard to get a campsite there, but if you do get a campsite there, then yeah, it's a really good place. So let's go check that one out. So Springhill comes in two different campgrounds. You've got the Springhill North and the Springhill South. This one here is Springhill South, with Springhill North being just up above it. It used to be called Springhill Upper or Upper Springhill and Lower Springhill, but this is one of my go-to locations when I can get in here. But it gets hit hard and heavy in the springtime, but in the winter time there's hardly ever anybody here, and it's always a great place to go. And what I like too, there are a lot of deep runs here, but there's also a nice little sections where your family can play while you're fishing. So it's a really good area. Now there's only a few more campgrounds up above us. We have Goldledge, there's Fairview area, there's Limestone, Brush Creek, which is a day use area now, and then you're into the Johnsondale Bridge area. So we're gonna go check those places out. I do like them. They're a little bit cooler in the heat of the summer, but this is about where I stop fishing, and if I hit this location and there's nothing here, then the next spot that I'm going is to the wild section up above Johnsondale. I might stop at Rhodes Inn right near Fairview, but usually not for long. So let's go ahead. We're gonna go check those other areas out. And here we are at Goldledge Campground. So paved coming in. There's water here. I wouldn't drink it, but most of the time you've got camp hosts that are here and they have full-time hookups, so they drink the water, or I assume they drink the water, so maybe it is good. But I usually bring water with me when I'm camping up here. But you can see the sites, nice big open areas, picnic tables, fire rings. We have our pit toilet bathrooms in the back. You can see this campground is just one big loop, with some campsites away from the river and then some campsites just right here next to the river. So let's go take a look at the river. So looking down here, we got one big, nice, deep pool. If you're fishing this area, we've got some good areas of pocket water. In the springtime, this swells. This comes usually up to right here, and the fishing is pretty good all the way up through there. I don't typically fish back in this direction. I haven't had a lot of success. Not to say that you're not gonna have a lot of success, but I recommend going upstream from here. And I highly doubt that you can actually see it, but right over there up against those rocks, we've got some feeding fish. So this is Fairview Campground. I really like this campground because you can come into here and it's right next to McNally's. There's also a nice little bridge right behind McNally's where you can cross the river and get to the other side. They just came in, looks like they repaved everything in here. They had a lot of washouts last year when everything ran pretty much down the main road here and just all through the campground. So they had a lot of repairs, kind of the way that it's been in all of these campgrounds. But this one here, it's nice, it's big. You can see all the campsites down through here. And you can see just how nice and open everything is in here. So nice, good campgrounds. There are several pit toilets in this campground on both ends. You see the other one way out there. And let's just go take a walk down to the water. So you can see what the water looks like. Nice, good runs for fishing. This area does fill up quite a bit in the springtime, but all the way down here, you can fish all upstream. You can fish all downstream, go down behind McNally's. And there's a lot of good fishing there. Nice little campground. Fairview is a good area. Some good hiking around here. Pack Saddle Cave is right up the road. And you can hit the Rincon from here. You can go up Salmon Creek Falls. So there's a lot of good areas here. And like I said, you got McNally's. So you can go get that big 72-ounce porterhouse or whatever they're famous for. But they make a killer burger. And their fries aren't too bad either. And for the adults amongst your group, they also have cocktails and a full bar right there. Just saying. And here we are. This is going to be the last campground of my journey today. And this is Limestone Campground. So Limestone Campground is actually a really nice campground. The water is always cool. It's really nice and shady up in here. So in the summertime, this is usually where I head when it gets too hot for those ones down a little bit lower. And you can see what I'm talking about. Look at these nice big trees. Everything's overshading the campsites. We've got our pit toilets back there. Really nice areas down here by the water. This is typically pretty shallow and there's not a lot of current in this section. But if you have your waders or you want to wet wade, you can get out there and you can get right on the edge of the current, and there's some pretty good fishing out there. Now, on this trip up here today, you need to remember that I covered 20 miles from Kernville up here to where I'm at. So there's a lot of areas that I just didn't have time to cover, or I just didn't cover because I thought that campground wasn't really suited good enough for family activities where you want to play in the water, you want to fish, maybe you want to relax in a nice flat campground. So there are other areas that you should check out. I skipped over a large chunk right there. Ant Canyon, Calkins Flat, Old Goldledge, Chamis Flat. Like, there's a lot of places that you should check out. And you have to remember that the upper Kern River used to be free dispersed camping all the way up and down it. So there's a lot of places to park. There's a lot of places to put a raft in. There's a lot of places to take a raft out. That means there's a lot of places for a trout truck to stop and throw fish into the river. So keep that in mind. Now, there's nothing worse than getting to a spot and wondering what's just around the bend. So hopefully this helps you out. This gives you an upper hand if you're here in the area. I just want to say thank you to those of you that have given me a like or even pitch in an extra $1 or $2 with those super thanks. I really appreciate that, and it's those things that help keep this channel growing. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. As always, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.